This morning, the top military official in the U.S. is in Berlin meeting with other defense chiefs to discuss ongoing support for Ukraine.
We know that Russia remains bent on aggression and conquest. And Russian forces have increased their horrific attacks, killing many innocent Ukrainians.
One top priority this morning is providing the war-torn country with German-made tanks. Correspondent Trent Murray joins us live now from Berlin. Trent, good to see you. So there's been a lot of recent talks about tanks for Ukraine. So what, if any, progress did military officials make on the issue in the meeting?
Well, they are just still discussing it right now, Alex, but we understand it remains the most contentious point of this meeting, and that is because a lot of European countries that own these German-made tanks are very eager to give them to Ukraine, very much being led by Poland. They want to hand the Leopard 2 over to Ukraine because they say that will give them a real boost in their ability to push back against the Russians. The trouble is, because it's a German-manufactured weapon, Berlin gets a veto over re-exporting of it. So effectively, if Poland or Lithuania want to give it to Ukraine, Berlin can say no, and that is really causing frustration amongst European allies here. In fact, the Polish president has suggested that he may just ignore the veto, that he's preparing to give them to Ukraine, and he might note Berlin's objection but tell them he doesn't care. That would cause an enormous diplomatic rift, and that is why this meeting today, led by Lloyd Austin, is so crucial, just to try and get everyone around the table and agree on a joint approach. We have heard some suggestions that the Germans are saying, well, we will hand over the tanks only if the US hands over some of theirs, so we do it together. The US and the Pentagon don't seem to want to hand over US Abrams tanks right now because that's a logistical nightmare getting them across the Atlantic. So, look, there's a lot of moving pieces in all of this. We are just sort of waiting for an announcement when this meeting wraps up. We expect weapons will be given, but the question is whether German tanks will be on that list. I would say probably not, given the noise and the signals we're getting out of that meeting.
So why has Germany then been so reluctant so far to give German-made tanks to Ukraine or allow other countries to provide it to them?
Yeah, it's a really interesting and slightly difficult question. I mean, some of it is political, some of it is historical. I mean, it's worth noting that many of the major parties in the parliament here are supportive of the idea. The Libertarians, the Greens, even the Conservatives. It's the Social Democrats and particularly the left-leaning part of the party that are really against this idea. They say it could escalate the war, it could inflame tensions even more. But of course, what Ukraine turns around and says is, look, we've already been invaded. There's no other way this war can be escalated. Russia has invaded our territory. So it's a difficult one. And as I say, you have a very different approach from the Eastern Europeans who in some ways, you know, are closer to Russia, have got more to lose in some ways. They are the ones saying, look, Germany, just get out of the way. Let us send the tanks, you know, and let's help Ukraine bring this war to an end much faster than it needs to be. But, you know, it's a very complicated question and it involves a lot of European politics and European history to some degree as well.
All right, Trent Murray reporting live in Berlin for us this morning. Thank you, Trent.